If you watch part one, you already know something important. Panels categorize candidates early. But what most candidates don't realize is this: your answers can either reinforce that category or shift it. And the difference often comes down to one thing: narration versus translation. Panels aren't just listening to what you did, they are listening and assessing how you think. So today I'm going to show you the difference between narration and translation using the common band 6 interview question. Stay with me. Let's start with this. Tell us about a time you managed a deteriorating patient. This is how many strong nurses answer. I assessed the patient, completed observations, noticed their new score was rising, escalated to the registrar, started oxygen, documented everything, and handed over appropriately. Now, there's nothing clinically wrong with that answer, but it sounds like activity, not leadership cognition. Here is the translated version. The immediate risk was delayed recognition of sepsis progression. The patient's rise in new score indicated systemic compromise, so I escalated earlier than waiting for further deterioration. My decision was guided by the sepsis pathway and escalation policy to prevent avoidable delay. I also coordinated with the team to ensure clarity of roles during intervention. The outcome was antibiotic administration within the 1 hour sepsis target and stabilization prior to ICU transfer. Following the incident, I reflected on the importance of early escalation and structured communication during deterioration, which I've seen reinforced when supporting junior staff. Now, do you see the difference? The first answer describes events, the second answer reveals judgment. Panels are not asking, or they are not even scoring for tasks. They are scoring decision quality. Now look closely at what changed. In the translated version, you hear risk awareness, policy alignment, escalation reasoning, team coordination, outcome evidence, professional reflection. That is governance thinking inside a clinical example. And this is where a structured framework becomes useful. The way I teach candidates to organize their thinking is through a simple structure called GATE. That is goal, action, thinking, slash tools, effect, slash evidence. The goal clarifies the clinical objective. The action shows what you actually did. The thinking reveals policy or the guideline or tool or judgment guiding your decision. And the effect demonstrates measurable outcome and learning. Panels rarely articulate this way, but they are listening out for it. Now let's look out for another example. Tell us about a time you managed conflict in your team. The narrated version. I listened to both sides, encouraged open communication, and we resolved the issue. Again, nothing wrong with that, but it's too descriptive. Here is the translated version. The risk was team fragmentation, affecting morale, and potentially patient safety. I facilitated a structured conversation using mediation principles to clarify expectations and responsibilities. I ensured psychological safety while reinforcing professional standards. The outcome was restored working relationships within the team and a reduction in informal complaints over the following weeks. It also reinforced the importance of early structured intervention in team conflict, which has informed how I now address tensions before they escalate. Now tell me, do you see what translation does? Narration tells the panel what happened. Translation shows them how you think. And at band 6 and above, panels are asking a deeper question. Can this person think beyond the immediate task? Can they recognize risk before it escalates? Can they operate at system level, not just bedside level? Narration shows competence, translation shows leadership cognition. And that distinction is why strong nurses sometimes leave interviews confused, because they answered correctly, but they didn't demonstrate their thinking. Now, if you're applying for governance, transformation, or senior clinical leadership roles, this then becomes even more critical because proximity is assessed through how you frame your experience, not just what you have done. So before you even go to your next interview, don't just collect examples, re express them. Ask yourself, where was the risk? What principle or guideline guided my decision? What trade off did I weigh? What was the outcome? And what did I actually learn that shaped my future practice? That's translation. And translation is positioning. I'm Obedience Antonia Broby. This is Interview Mechanics. And in the next breakdown, we'll talk about how to pre-position your experience before you even apply so you're not trying to prove readiness in 45 minutes. I'll see you there.